Deepening ties. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden hosting Japan's prime minister at the White House for a state dinner this evening. Earlier, the two tackled a range of topics in a one-on-one meeting.
Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio and President Biden are elevating military cooperation and enhancing interoperability and planning between the nation's militaries. The president says Japan is also joining a network of missile defense with Australia.
And are purely about defense and readiness. It's not aimed at any one nation or a threat to the region, and it doesn't have anything to do with conflict.
Still, both leaders say they discussed easing tensions with China and North Korea. Tomorrow, the president of the Philippines joins President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida for a summit on freedom of navigation in the South China Sea.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. A third attempt by former President Trump to delay his hush money trial has been rejected by a New York judge. Trump's lawyers had asked the trial be put on hold indefinitely while they fight to remove him and challenge several of his rulings. This as a former Trump Organization executive has been sentenced for lying under oath.
Alan Weisselberg, the former chief financial officer for the Trump Organization, has been sentenced to 5 months in jail in a perjury plea deal. He was charged in March with 5 counts of perjury for lying under oath multiple times about the values of former President Trump's properties during the New York Attorney General's civil fraud investigation. Sentencing lasted just minutes, and Weisselberg, who was 76, was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody.
Fox's Tanya J. Power. 3 people have been shot, 5 in custody, including a 15-year-old boy, after Philadelphia police say rival groups exchanged gunfire in a park in Philadelphia, where a celebration to mark the end of Ramadan was being held. The motive for the shooting is not immediately known. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Why he's suing. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. PFAS chemicals are called forever chemicals because they're nearly impossible to break down. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is suing the companies behind the chemicals, and he wants them to pay up.
Through remediation, cleanup, and educating everyday Hoosiers about the products that they were handling.
Forever chemicals can cause cancer and childhood development issues. Rokita says over 20 counties have high levels of contamination. A woman confused a bullet for a beak Monday. Sam Fritz reports.
The Hendricks County Sheriff's Office say that a 70-year-old woman was shot in her upper arm by a bullet on Monday. The woman, who was 70 years old, thought that a bird had flown into her arm before discovering it was actually a bullet wound. Police say that the shot came from about 4,400 feet away as people were target shooting along State Road 75. Investigators found that the bullet traveled through a dirt berm backstop, multiple rows of trees, and 2 farm fields before striking the woman. She was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and no criminal charges are being filed against the target shooters. Sam Fritz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Severe weather is possible Thursday.
As we go into tomorrow and tomorrow evening, some of that does start to move up into the area as the low itself shifts up into the Midwest. Can't rule out that we'll see a localized strong thunderstorm here or there.
Joe Neal with the National Weather Service says some parts of the state could get some hail and strong winds. Flooding could also be a concern in some low-lying areas. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Widespread rain and storms expected tonight with lows in the mid-upper 50s. Then we're in for a rainy and windy Thursday with highs only in the low 60s, with wind gusts by Thursday night pushing to 30 to 40 miles per hour. We're also tracking some localized flooding concerns too. On Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Stephen Deanna for 93 WIBC.
How would you like to get a 13% bonus when you invest your money? And not only do you get a 13% bonus, you'll also get an annual return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years.
Hey, it's Kendall and Casey. Discover how you can get an upfront 13% bonus plus a competitive annual return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years. Learn more from the retirement guy we trust, Bill Demery in Indy. Just call 317-932-9912.
This is such a no-brainer for me. You get an upfront 13% bonus plus a competitive annual return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years. And it's backed by one of the largest insurance companies in the world.
So call Bill now at 317-932-9912. 317-932-9912.
Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
Let Bill Estes put you behind the wheel of the powerhouse brands that define American toughness: Ford, Chevy, Ram, and GMC.
Get in on Ram Truck Month with exclusive deals. Right now, get $2,500 retail consumer cash on most new 2024 Ram 1500s.
Unleash the power of the road with Bill Estes Trucks. Find the location near you and see their inventory at BillEstesTrucks.com.
TRX models excluded from all offers. See dealer for complete details. Take retail delivery by April 30th, 2024.
Smokey the Bear. Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey, the Hammer and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. That's 93.1 FM out of Indianapolis. The live streams on Twitter X, which is growing very rapidly. Really appreciate the support there. YouTube.com/WIBC, and the podcasts everywhere else. Well, like many of you, I went to college. And like many of you, I have certain degrees which are useful. And like others, I have degrees that are not so useful. But I had the fortune of being able to work my way through college and being able to pay for these things myself. A lot of people didn't have that option, and so they took student loans. Now, it is very important right off the bat to point something out. First of all, the federal government should not be involved in the practice of issuing loans. The federal government sucks at making business decisions. And guess what? An 18-year-old who just wants to find themselves as they go to college for a few years and switch their majors and liberal arts programs are not a good financial investment. They're just not. So that's the first thing. Number two, the practice of student loan lending is extremely predatory. These universities, which are charging $90,000, $100,000, $120,000 for some of their programs and tuition, are gutting students for money, not to mention pestering all of their alumni. Where's the money going? It's not going just to professors and staff at the university. It's going to a lot of nonsensical programs. And in all seriousness, states should begin investigations on how universities are spending students' tuition money immediately. That all said, it is not the responsibility of other Americans who have either paid their college loans or elected not to go to college to cover the cost of you as an adult, a legal adult, signing your name on a dotted line and agreeing to pay back a loan. Some people did not work jobs in college, and they just kind of did whatever. I had a huge credit load while I was in college. I did a lot of extracurriculars, and I still found time to work my way through college. It's not that difficult to do, but that isn't stopping the Biden administration, who's already had his limp old man wrists slapped several times by the Supreme Court for wanting to get the student loans for a lot of Generation Z and millennial individuals forgiven. Now, of course, forgiven actually means paying for it out of your own money, but the federal government doesn't have its own money. Your taxpayer money is the money with which President Biden wants to pay that. So this is according to the Democrat National Convention. President Biden believes that college should be a ticket to the middle class, not a burden that weighs on family, end quote. I'm sorry, but college was never painted as a ticket to the middle class. Growing up, do you all remember college was painted as a ticket to the upper class? It wasn't painted as a ticket to the middle class. That is extremely demeaning to the middle class, as though the idea that if you work a regular job, that you're somehow less than these college academics. It is nonsense. But anywho, continuing the DNC's quote, they say, that's why he announced plans this week to cancel student debt for tens of millions of Americans, totaling debt relief for over 30 million borrowers. And this is somewhere between 140 and 780 billion dollars. And you may be wondering, does Biden have the authority to do that? No, he doesn't. The power of the purse, which means, what the federal government does with its money, is in the hands of Congress. It has been that way since our entire country was written. For those of you who maybe are not history buffs, but have seen the musical Alexander Hamilton, you will remember that the second act of the entire musical involves Alexander Hamilton fighting with Congress because Congress makes the decisions about money. That's the whole point, because they are the directly elected representatives and what should be the state elected senators, or now the direct elected senators, that you send to Washington. They should be making financial decisions. But Biden has decided he can just executive order his way to victory. And this leads a lot of people in the United States to have this response.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Because in reality, the president of the United States does not have the authority to do this. So how's he going to accomplish this? How is he going to simp so desperately for these votes that he needs, considering how down he is in the national and swing state polls? Well, I'll tell you how he's going to do it. The first time he tried to do this, he attempted to make a post-9/11 Iraq War amendment in a bill, somehow connected to the same kind of national emergency that was connected to COVID-19. So President Biden's original logic was that during COVID-19, when, by the way, the federal government suspended student loan payments, he says that this put a lot of people behind, so they couldn't possibly pay their student loans because of this unforeseeable national emergency. And he tied this to the Iraq War veteran and the 9/11 amendment in an earlier bill, which is just bonkers. I mean, imagine comparing people who lived through COVID to veterans of the Iraq War. Oh, dear God. But now he's suggesting that he's going to just write executive orders and forgive student loans because he says, well, it's bad. Look, I agree that it's bad. That doesn't mean you just get to wave your limp old man Alzheimer-laden wrists and just correct everything magically because you're so desperate for youth votes. It ain't gonna work. And by the way, I said in the teaser for today's episode, which played on 93 WIBC, that 7 states were suing President Biden, or the Biden administration, for this canceling billions in student debt. Now it's up to 18 states. There are 2 lawsuits. The first lawsuit was filed the last time the President of the United States was unable to read and just pulled out his magical Disney fairy godmother wand and bippity-boppity-booed student debt. That lawsuit was led by Kansas, and it included Nebraska, Iowa, Montana, Idaho, Utah, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, and South Carolina. Now this new $30 million loan forgiveness, and I don't mean $30 million, I mean 30 million Americans trying to get their loans forgiven here. This new lawsuit is led by Missouri, followed by Arkansas, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Ohio, Georgia, and Florida. And for the record, Missouri actually has its stuff together. The Missouri State Legislature, the governor's office, as well as their attorney general's office are top notch. And states should be suing the Biden administration over this gross overreach of executive power. This is one of the reasons the Department of Education needs to close its doors now. The federal government should have no authority instituting any kind of financial bargaining agreement, whether it's Social Security or whether it's college loans, when it comes to 18-year-olds. Get your hands out of my pockets, you suck at spending my money. And that should be how every American views the government. And this leads Biden to yet another terrible predicament in this electoral season, as it looks like SCOTUS is going to hand his old flabby butt back to him yet again, which he deserves. And he's going to get out there and talk about injustice and how we should pack the court and remind everyone yet again that in the Rust Belt, which Biden desperately needs to win, where he is down in Minnesota and in Michigan, that if the Rust Belt union workers see Biden raising their taxes in order to forgive the debt of not just doctors and lawyers and esteemed engineers, but dance theater majors and Harry Potter professors. Yes, there is a professor of Harry Potter studies that is upset they still have college student loans. I don't think the union workers are going to like that too much. Ask any fellow craft or master on a job site, whether it's plumbing, electrical, whether it's any kind of contracting. Ask them how they feel making up for the mistakes of an apprentice or some owner of the property who has no idea what they're doing. And then try to tell me that these same union working men of the United States are going to throw their weight behind Biden. Good luck with that. Putting all of the eggs in the basket of the youths coming out to vote has, of course, worked out so well in the past. And by that, I mean never, ever, for never, ever, never. Up next, we're going to be talking to one of the great minds on immigration. This is Chris DeVore from the Texas Public Policy Foundation, because Biden cannot hide with this college student loan forgiveness from the insane scandal of flying illegal immigrants, most of whom are young military-aged males, all over the country, coming to a neighborhood near you. Stick around. This is the Tony Kinnecast here on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
Do they still do mail in Carmel?
Carmel, don't ever change.
I love the living statues that sit on the benches. They're awesome.
Yes, that's how people from Greenwood earn extra money. Oh, I'm going to get emails. What have I done? You know everybody here is just in debt and house poor up to their ass. Don't you laugh, Zionsville. You have it worse. $1.13 trillion of credit card debt. Half of that is on the west side of Carmel.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Come on, Indy. Don't use the spring to paint your house year after year. Do what Deanna did. She called Rhino Shield.
I was noticing some cracks and the paint's faded. I was like, okay, I think I should get my house painted. So my neighbor had a Rhino Shield placard in the yard. And after they were finished, I was just, wow. With the warranty and everything, it just seemed silly not to go that route.
The ceramic coating of Rhino Shield is specifically formulated for our climate.
So the Rhino Shield crew came out. Nothing was damaged in the process. I was very happy. They just didn't leave a mess. You couldn't even tell they were there. And the house looked so different. It just looked like a new home.
Backed by a 25-year transferable warranty. And now get the protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
Rhino Shield, I think it increases the value and the curb appeal of your home. Definitely worth it.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
There is no reason to live with achy joints. There's no reason to live with pain, and there's no reason not to seek out help. That help is at QC Kinetics in Eagle Creek, in Greenwood, and in Carmel. Under the leadership of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, QC Kinetics can help you get rid of joint pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no steroids. That's right. These are no longer your best options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative treatments that deliver lasting results. We're talking natural biologics, using your body's own power to repair and restore damaged joint tissue. Talk to QC Kinetics today. Get a free consultation. They even have Saturday hours, so you have no downtime at work. Call QC Kinetics today and tell them Tony Katz sent you. QC Kinetics is in Eagle Creek, in Greenwood, and in Carmel. Call today. 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN.
Now if you're heading on home or you're taking a getaway, well, there's so much to see at the crossroads of the USA.
No matter where you're headed, it's nice to know Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations and choose from over 2,000 vehicles. Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes, all models. Certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones.
'Cause Hubler's got you covered.
No matter where you're headed, it's nice to know Hubler's got you covered. So what drives Indiana? DriveHubler.com.
Cover me!
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Diamonds Direct spring sale starts this weekend.
Get 20% off rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and more. It's the best store-wide sale of the season. Plus, book an appointment and get an additional $100 off. That's right, 20% savings plus an extra $100 off. Also enjoy an expanded selection of the latest style with designer appearances each weekend. Tons of engagement rings on sale too. 20% off starts Friday and open this Sunday as well. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
Your vote can make a difference. If you're planning to vote by mail in the primary election, applications are due by April 25th. For more information, visit vote.indy.gov. This message was paid for by the Marion County Election Board.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC, the Daily Signal as well. I'm Tony Kinnett, joining us this evening to dig through what has to be one of the most insane things that we have heard regarding immigration policy, and that's saying something for the Biden administration, is Chuck DeVore. He's the Chief National Initiatives Officer over at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. And look, we're Hoosiers out here. So if you're going to dig into the real issues on immigration, you got to get the Texas people involved. Chuck, good evening.
Good evening.
So give us a bit of a breakdown with this Biden immigration flight scandal, because that's putting it lightly.
Right. So this is all about preventing bad visuals at the border. So you may recall a couple of years ago, you had a surge of individuals coming across, mostly from Haiti, coming across illegally. And there were so many of them that the Border Patrol couldn't even process them using paperwork of dubious legality, something called a notice to report. Normally, they're supposed to do a notice to appear, which says you're going to appear before an immigration judge at this time certain. Well, notice to report is simply you're going to go to somewhere in America, and when you finally get to where you want to go, you have to check in with immigration and at least tell us where you are, right? And so they were processing these as quickly as they could, but as you recall, there were some 20,000 people in the hot sun under this bridge in Texas next to the Rio Grande River. And that was a really bad visual, right? You don't want those visuals to present themselves, because at that point, even ABC and CBS and MSNBC and CNN, they've got to report it, right?
So they came up. There's a problem at the southern border with those kind of visuals.
Right, exactly. Maybe a crisis even. And so what they did is they created this app, and it's called the CBP One app, and would-be immigrants download it onto their phone, and they fill out some basic information, and then that essentially gives them the right to jump in line in front of everyone else, get on an airplane, and fly directly into the United States, with the vast majority of flights going into Texas. Number two is Florida, and then scattered other cities within the U.S. And then once you're there, fly on to somewhere else. And we just lose track of these individuals.
So once these individuals are lost, has the federal government, and I unfortunately know the answer to this one, but has the federal government released any kind of plan from the Secretary of Homeland Security's office in how to identify and find these individuals once they have been lost from any ICE tracking system?
It doesn't appear to me that there's much in the way of tracking beyond those first flights and maybe a connection flight. We know, as I recall, some 90% of the flights, and I think we're talking about somewhere north of 300,000 people, have come into Texas. And the reason for that is that Texas is a very common hub state for flights coming in from Central and South America. Same with a couple of airports out of Florida, just because of proximity, right? It's actually closer to fly from Texas cities to Mexico City than it is to fly from cities in Texas to Washington, D.C., for example.
Right.
And so a lot of flights will come in, with Texas being the number one city, and then they'll go on to some other destination. And of course, they're flying with pretty minimal paperwork in many cases. You know, I've heard quite a few stories, I'm sure your listeners have as well, where you have individuals who are would-be immigrants who are using scraps of paper essentially as their identification, whereas the rest of us, of course, have to have a government-issued photo ID of the proper kind. You have to take your shoes off, all of these things to make sure that we're flying safely. Not so much with this crowd of people.
And I would say even more so, this is where, a couple of decades ago, we would look at a system like this and say, well, what happens if a bad actor tries to use this incredibly weak system to wreak some sort of havoc in the United States? And unfortunately, and that's not really the right adverb for that, to our horror, we have seen individuals who have manipulated this system that have abused cops in New York, that have committed heinous murders and sexual assaults. And this isn't a situation where one can say, oh, well, you're just fear-mongering, you're making blanket sweep statements. These are security risks that are beyond crucial. And Texas is bearing the brunt of this. When you consider the threat of these heightened risks that the CIA has been warning about regarding possible terrorist activities, these are Texas airports that some of these individuals, and we don't know where they're coming from, the scrap of paper didn't say. We have no idea what kind of risk we're putting the state of Texas at before the rest of the United States.
Yeah, and let me throw some more fuel on this fire concern. So in Venezuela, a profoundly corrupt nation under President Maduro, by the way, he appears to be gearing up to invade Guyana, and that's going to be a whole other big problem, big diversion from our focus on China. But in Venezuela, they have this policy, presumably either in statute or simply due to corruption, where you can arrive in country from let's say a nation designated as a hotbed for terrorism, and within 48 hours, with the proper payment, you can secure an official Venezuelan passport. And so what we're seeing is a number of people coming up from Venezuela. They have Venezuelan identification, but in fact, they're not Venezuelan nationals, and they are often coming from countries that are known as headquarters or nexus of terrorism. And so there's one problem right there that manifests itself when you absolutely lose control of your borders.
So at this point, and again, we're going into the major part of the election season, and President Biden has a lot of decisions before him, or at least his secretaries have a lot of decisions before them in their departments on how they're going to operate, how they're going to run things to make things look the best. And here we are seeing a situation in which they have already made an optics-based decision that has negatively impacted the national security of the United States. It's overloaded Texas infrastructure, both in small local towns, as well as your infrastructure and transportation points. And this is, again, one of the things that I think needs to be pointed out, is that when you make decisions, especially regarding immigration, based on optics, instead of actually targeting what is a genuine crisis, I don't even think that we can begin to fathom how dangerous it is to be playing with matches of these magnitude. Do you kind of get what I'm getting at? Like, this is some dangerous fire to be playing with.
Well, and two things are going on right now. One thing that's blatantly political, and the other thing that really plays into your concern. The first thing is you're seeing the president of Mexico beginning to significantly crack down on illegal immigration because he realizes that it is harmful to the reelection of the candidate that he prefers, President Joe Biden. And so while we already have some 10 million or so illegal immigrants that have come across the border since Biden's been president, you're likely going to see significant ramp downs right on the border over the next several months through the end of the year, because politically it is to the advantage of Biden for that to happen, and the president of Mexico intends to make it happen. The second thing, though, that is a consequence of the out-of-control border is that when the border is being controlled and you have individuals coming across the ports of entry, the official ports of entry, and in between the ports of entry that the Border Patrol patrols, you have the illegal drugs and the occasional, felony sex offender or murderer or terrorist that want to evade detection. The Border Patrol is much better positioned to be able to intercept those individuals when things are under control. What's been happening over the last several years is the Border Patrol has been made so busy caring for example, underage children, basically being federal babysitters, processing really large numbers of people with the orders from the Biden administration to process them so quickly that we don't get any buildup of personnel on the border. And what's happened in the last now 15 months is you saw this dramatic inflection point when it came to Chinese nationals crossing the border beginning in January of 2023. It's something like a 6,000% increase, as I recall. You're looking at somewhere
just a 6,000% increase. My goodness.
Yeah. And so these are individuals of military age. These are military age males who are coming across with good clothing, often a nice backpack and plenty of cash, and they do not want to be questioned. They are being released into the interior of the country. And something that I'm concerned about as a retired Army intelligence officer is how many of these individuals are really just here for the economic benefits? Might there be any sabotage teams? Could any of these individuals be pre-positioning in advance of an expected conflict with the People's Republic of China? These are things that we might have known 5 or 10 years ago when we were actually interviewing and interrogating people at the border. We don't do that anymore. So we're kind of flying blind right now.
I mean, especially given China's interest with Taiwan, if China was going to make some type of move towards the island of Taiwan, then you might actually get a situation in which Chinese nationals that have come through the border illegally take down some type of communications infrastructure to temporarily paralyze, cause some chaos over here. And that's happened several times in history with other nations. It's incredibly terrifying. Chuck DeVore, Chief National Initiative Officer at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, thank you for keeping a good bead on the situation. We'll be checking in pretty soon because this is nowhere near even reaching its peak.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment. This is the Tony Kinnecast here on 93 WIBC.
A sleep divorce happens when bed partners sleep in different rooms because one of them has a snoring problem. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, but it is unfortunate, especially when there are simple, non-surgical solutions that can put snoring problems to bed for good. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula with Advent, where our exclusive focus is the nose and throat, which is exactly where your snoring problem is coming from. If 20 years ago you told me I'd be helping relationships flourish again, I'd have laughed. But in many cases, that is the case. Because helping your bed partner stop snoring so the two of you can get back to sleeping together again can do just that.
Go to adventknows.com today to schedule your appointment and learn more about our effective breathing triangle solutions. Because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
Retirement. When you picture your retirement, what do you see? Travel, relaxation, hobbies, more time with the people you love? Or are you met with uncertainty and concern? Whatever emotion the word retirement conjures up for you, Howard Bailey Financial is ready to help. Our financial advisors are not just experts in retirement strategies, they are your partners in crafting a personalized retirement plan that aligns with your dreams and aspirations. At Howard Bailey, we prioritize one thing above all else, your peace of mind. Don't leave your retirement planning to chance. Instead, call 866-482-9559 now to schedule your personal financial review and see how Howard Bailey can help give you confidence in your retirement goals. Again, call 866-482-9559.
This endorsement was not provided by a client of Howard Bailey. This individual was compensated for this endorsement. For more information, visit howardbailey.com/TS1.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon, you wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell, and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
St. Louis brought the world gooey butter cake. Now Bluebell brings us gooey butter cake ice cream. A cake batter ice cream with a luscious cream cheese swirl and gooey butter cake pieces. It's the gateway to the best in pints and half gallons.
The good old days are being made right now.
ice cream at your favorite grocer. If you can't find it, please ask for it.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
My husband Bob has Parkinson's and he needs more help now, and I need more support to help him. Thanks to Indiana Pathways for Aging, we're getting the support we need to help him right here at home, like with meal prep and basic personal care and even respite support for me.
Pathways provides Hoosier Medicaid members, age 60 and over, support for care their way so they can live life their way. Eligible members can select a plan now. Call 87-PATHWAY-4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
Just a curbside prophet.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC, your home for popping the bubble of, all of the hyperbole and nonsense. Ron, I got to be honest, I don't have like a catchphrase for the show yet. So do you have a catchphrase for Coleman Nation podcast?
So what I say to people what I say when I open up is, hello, Colemanators.
Ooh.
Because I want to reinforce that the joke is culmination, not that I'm a guy who has a nation.
Oh, I see.
Because why would I would find that annoying.
Well, you are Orthodox Jewish, so you're supposed to be scheming for the control of all the nations, or so I'm told.
Right, but then I wouldn't name it after myself. I would name it after something that I really loved, like Money Nation, Lucre Nation.
Oh, okay. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down. So, look, here's the real question. We're on with Ron Coleman this evening, and I'm being told that since the Arizona Supreme Court has confirmed the abortion law on the books, that this is immediately going to flip Arizona blue. I mean, so hard, so fast, like Kerry Lake is going to be left in the dust, and this is just the end of time for Trump to run for the White House in 2024. You are the legal expert. You're the guy who understands culture, who understands the goobers across the country. Is there anything to this?
Well, there might be, but let's unpack it, as we say, Tony.
Nice.
The Supreme Court of Arizona is obligated to rule pursuant to its precedents and its constitutional requirements,
right,
with no political consideration. So there can be anything's possible, I guess, but there's no room for criticism of the Supreme Court. They are doing their jobs.
Right.
This is a statute that I believe was was amended sometime about 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't blame anyone in the Arizona legislature either.
Oh, but what if I really want to? Or what if, you just really want to use it to bash Trump?
Well,
because,
okay. Listen, one thing you can definitely observe, Tony, is that everyone who voted for this statute was a white male. I guarantee it.
Was that gasp believable enough?
But as a practical matter, okay, so in other words, let's consider the process by which this decision was issued to be a black box. There's nothing to talk about in terms of the black box. The question is the fallout. There's no room to criticize the court. They did their job.
All right. So what is the fallout that we're looking at here?
I think that it has exposed some very important conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me to understand how people can take the position that we as a conservative party or people who are pro-life should not campaign on core values like abortion, because it's not merely about abortion. And in this regard, we can agree with the feminists and the Marxists. Just not the net. They're right. It's not just about abortion. They say it's about controlling women's bodies, which is very silly. But what it is about is a statement of whether we care about right and wrong, as opposed to
whether life has intrinsic value or not.
Whether and whether there, A, yes, of course, obviously, and B, whether conduct should have consequences, and C, the extent to which we should be intimidated by political threats. It may very well be the case that votes will be lost because of this decision, but I find it hard to believe that there will be very many Arizona voters who would not have been bombarded. Let me take a look at the timeline of the great and glorious Governor Newsom of California. All he's tweeting about is abortion.
Yeah, it's his whole shtick.
Whether or not that's because he still thinks maybe he's going to be the guy they slide in for Biden when he forgets how to find his way to the convention hall, or whether it's because he's just being a dutiful Democrat and is looking at the medium run, they're going to get this message no matter what. Every time someone draws a line in the sand and says, this is the line you shouldn't have crossed, I suspect that line is merely an opportunity to make a point you were going to make anyway.
Right. And that kind of factors in, at least for the election looking forward here. And I agree with you. I don't think the right should be sacrificing the principles that we claim to have just because, it is or isn't politically expedient to, because it's not like anybody is fooled, as though there's the independent voter out there who hears the left, which is saying all of the things anyway. And the right saying, well, we didn't openly say that we supported X, Y, and Z. I would much rather the right say what they mean and mean what they say.
I mean, I do think there's room for nuance. And I think that Donald Trump gets it. And a lot of my friends on social media, I won't embarrass them by naming them, but people whose thought processes I really respect are mostly saying this. Yes, you should stand for what you stand for, and you shouldn't run from it. On the other hand, politics is a process by which you do your best to get elected, not by lying.
He took a ton of the wind out of Biden's sails by making the statement that he made.
He really did.
Just a ton. And that's why, again, another reason that I said this on another show today, that I'm not terribly fussed over Trump's statement is because Trump says a lot of things during the campaign, and it really matters who he appoints and the makeup of the Congress once he gets into office. That's far more valuable. But more so than that, I got to tell you, what I think is the funniest thing is the Democrats and the left as a whole are throwing their entire electoral weight behind the idea that you have every demographic in the country, and then on the other side, you have suburban white women between the ages of 25 and 50. And it's like, that's what's going to carry them through to victory. So the entire conversation is student loans and abortion. Is there enough geographic and demographic weight to that?
Well, I mean, they need to make sure that they get the black vote,
which is tenuous at this point,
right? And you and I both understand that doesn't mean that there's a meaningful chance that nationwide Donald Trump gets 51% of the black vote. They need to get the black vote, meaning all of it.
Yeah, they need to get like the super majority, and Biden is losing that like a creek that's turning into a river with the swollen rainwater.
And meanwhile, the incredibly cynical triangulating he's doing with Israel, and for looking at Michigan and Minnesota, it's so freaking cynical because everyone knows what he's doing and why he's doing it. And listen, people who are prepared to vote. I mean, look, there are people out there saying, "How can you vote for Donald Trump? He's a liar." Joe Biden literally said yesterday that when he taught constitutional law, Joe Biden never taught constitutional law.
He guest lectured a Saturday course that there's no transcripts from.
Yeah, but that's probably the same course that Obama got an A in.
Oh yeah, ooh, very important.
When it comes to no transcripts, right? It is a pitched battle. All we're talking about here is not only it's not even about winning over the middle. It's about motivating the base and motivating the fringy part of the middle that could become part of your base. Who will vote and what are the Hamas friends threatening Biden? We're going to stay home. They're not threatening to vote to Trump, because even though all the Jewish liberals would have you think that, and non-Jewish liberals, that Trump's an anti-Semite, utterly preposterous. No Palestinian supporter is under any such illusion. Not the slightest.
No, not even a little. So realistically, and I think we'll have to have you back another time because we're running a little bit short here. The hilarious part of this election is that the left truly believes that they're going to be able to bring some huge coalition out. Whereas the right, and Trump has pretty acutely realized that he can probably motivate enough moderates along with the very motivated Republican base to swing through. And for the left, it's too little too late.
Agreed.
Ron, thanks much for joining us. We'll have you on again because I got to tell you, there is no one like the culmination for bringing
the
through.
Culminator.
The culminator for the culmination for the best of the takes. Thanks very much, man.
Thanks, Tony.
You are listening to the Tony Kinnacast here on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Now, this spring is here. The seasons and allergies are upon us. Wow. We're on the rise even more.
So choppy, slurring, that one, or brew beer?
Beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this fine. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder.
What is he even saying?
Well, he sounds buzzed.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The laundry room. For as long as I can remember, this was the only place to get a good Wi-Fi connection. Until we got Xfinity. Now we have Wi-Fi all over the house. So, you're probably wondering why I'm still hanging out in here, when I could be happily streaming in the attic, basement, or literally any other room. Well, the truth is, it's warm in here. And I like the smell of dryer sheets.
Get out of here, weirdo.
Hey, close the door! You're letting cool air in.
That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with Xfinity. Now through April 21st, get started with 300 megabit internet for $35 a month for 12 months with a 1-year contract and get free Wi-Fi equipment included for a year. Plus, ask how you can save 40% over T-Mobile in your first year. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires pre-postponed and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary. Compares Xfinity Connect More Internet against T-Mobile Home Internet at $60 per month. Regular pricing applies after promo period.
I'm Darren Andrews from We Grow Hair Indy, and 18 years ago, I got my hair back.
I'm Rob, and 2 years ago, I got my hair back. Let this be your year to get your hair back and get your confidence back. Go to WeGrowHairIndy.com right now. We Grow Hair Indy has the multi-unit hair grafting hair transplant. That was the procedure that was best for me. Their easy 30-minute PRP and laser treatments fit into any man or woman's schedule. Find out which procedure is right for you. Call 317-522-2995 for your free hair and scalp evaluation.
I'm Rick DeMolin, former professional football player. I got my hair back.
Hey, Barry Krause, #1 draft pick. I got my hair back.
Join me and thousands of others and get your hair back. Call 317-522-2995 or visit WeGrowHairIndy.com. That's 317-522-2995. This year, get your hair back. Get your confidence back.
People everywhere are binge watching their money. Now streaming on Lake City Bank Digital. When checking Met Savings.
Together we make so much sense.
Also featuring Adventures of the Penny Pincher.
My journey has not been an easy one, but my budget is going to survive.
Watch new episodes of Your Money unfold every day on Lake City Bank Digital. Learn more at lakecitybank.com/digital. Member FDIC.
Are you struggling with anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues, but feel like you have to keep it together to tell everyone, I'm fine? Hi, this is Pastor Micah Beckwith from Life Church, and we want you to know you're not alone. Starting April 7th, we're launching a new 5-week series called I'm Not Fine to bring awareness and understanding to mental illness. Through powerful stories, biblical teaching, and community support, we'll explore what it means to honestly face our struggles and find healing. Join us this Sunday as we kick off I'm Not Fine and start breaking down the stigmas together. Go to lifechurchin.com for our service times and locations. It's not about being fine, it's about finding life. We'll see you this weekend.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
Hey, hello, and welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I'm Tony Kinnett, and it's a really great evening not to be a Democrat from Texas because, my goodness gracious, the representatives and senators from Texas, well, the representatives, the senators are actually Republican. The Democrat representatives from Texas are just embracing the inner idiot that resides inside them, screaming at all times. And look, we've talked about the eclipse, in the last couple of days. There are very few news talk shows that haven't. I would like to show you the statements from a Sheila Jackson Lee, a Democrat from Texas, 18th House District, and her comments about the moon and the sun, because, oh dear goodness gracious.
And sometimes you've heard the word full moon. And sometimes you need to take the opportunity just to come out and see a full moon is that complete rounded circle, which is made up mostly of gases. And that's why the question is why or how could we as humans live on the moon? Are the gases such that we could do that? The sun is a mighty powerful heat that is almost impossible to go near the sun. The moon is more manageable, and you will see in a moment, or not a moment, you'll see in a couple of years that NASA is going back to the moon.
What on earth is she saying? You don't have to be a science teacher to tell you that this lady is a few bricks short of a ceiling fan, to quote an old teacher friend of mine. My word. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. The moon is not made of gas. I'm sorry, no. Also, the moon has nearly no atmosphere at all. Even if the resources that we believe are on the moon, the frozen crystals that might provide a source of radioactive hydrogen for energy production were turned into a gas, they would not stay on the moon, and no, they would not be enough to breathe. There is no composition of anything on the moon that would make a breathable atmosphere. So no, that would be number one. Number two, the moon is not a planet. It is a moon. It is the term for which we derive moons of other planets. Oh my. And number three, yes, the sun is hot. That is not the reason we cannot get fairly close to the sun, though. Actually, it has a lot less to do with your immediate distance to the sun determining temperature than it actually does the angle, the speed, and the relative direction in which you are moving to the sun. That determines how many photons will hit you in space and heat the object up. Now, you may say, look, this is science stuff. Who cares what she thinks? She's just some no-name Democrat representative. Oh, how wrong you are, young sir. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is the Democratic Chief Deputy Whip for the U.S. House of Representatives. But that's not all, like Billy Mays used to say. She also sits on 3 congressional committees. That's right, Gas Moon Lady is in charge of a lot of your lives. She's a senior member of the House committees on the judiciary, interpreting actual functions of law and legal systems, Homeland Security, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, she's a border buddy, and the Crucial Budget Committee. So, someone who can't, I guess, comprehend the moon as a solid white chunk of rock is in charge of adding up the budget. Now, ain't that just about right? It gets worse, though, and here's where things get great. She says, this is on her website, she was appointed the first female ranking member of the Judiciary Subcommittee for Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security, which she now chairs. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. She was appointed to that committee because she has a certain set of private parts. And because, as other articles she has shared say, basically she's appointed to that committee because of her skin color and because of her gender. Why? Why would you make that the thing that, again, for those making the equity hire argument, which is that an individual should be hired based on their merits, their talents, and their character and their passion, that's what you want running a country. And the Democrats have said, well, that's not true. That's actually just some kind of a racist scapegoat from the right. And then you have these winners who are chairing major committees for the United States that govern huge chunks of how our systems operate. And she's telling you that the planet Moon has gases and NASA's gonna go figure out the gases. Oh my God! I would rather have someone claim the moon is made out of cheese and is a secret conspiracy by Hormel to feed Americans government dairy products. I mean, there you go. I don't ever want to hear any conversations about the party of science ever again with Democrat Representative Moon Chairwoman out there talking about how she's great because of the color of her skin and the genitals she has, and she doesn't even know the moon is not one of the 8+1 planets in the solar system. So if you're having a bad day, you're having a bad week, just remember, you don't think the moon is a gaseous planet. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.